In this movie, we're going to talk how to apply for your CVOR in the good old-fashioned way, using a form that you would pick up from a counter. I understand that some people are not that super tech-savvy, and the online thing is not their thing, and they might have tried to open the CVR application PDF file, and they got something like this, okay? So for you, what I've done is I've printed blank application forms. Now the CVOR comes in two parts. You need the application and then you need the consent form. So on my website, if you click here, you're going to see that the web browser can easily read and understand that file, and it's actually quite printable. Okay. So these guys are for corporate applications and these guys are for personal applications, sole proprietors. Basically, if you're not incorporated, then you use these two forms to prepare your application. Okay. Now, if you are a little bit more tech savvy, but you still don't want to do things online, you can go ahead and use the original CVOR PDF application file, which I'm going to use for the demonstration of this video, just because it's simpler. Okay, I can type into it. So in order to be able to successfully open it, you want to right-click here so that the menu pops up, and then you save the file somehow to your hard drive, and then you open the file somehow with your system viewer. So this is one way of doing this. And the second way of doing this is like this, save link as. And then you go here, show in folder, and then you double click on the file and it's going to open with most likely Adobe. Okay. So I'm going to also explain how to fill out the fields. This is going to be my corporate application and this is going to be my personal application. Okay, I'm going to do it side by side because it's going to make things easier this way. So if you are incorporated, you click here, and then the PDF is going to change from 2 pages to 5 pages with a whole bunch of questions present. Okay, simply read through the questions and answer them. They're pretty straightforward. It's going to be pretty easy. Applicant's role. So if you are a director of the corporation, you click here. I am the applicant client. If you are an employee of the corporation and you're not a director, then you simply click here. Okay. You fill in your legal details as they are shown on the articles of incorporation, and you check off email as the preferred method of communication. It's going to be just more safer and efficient and more reliable. Next, you go down the list of the directors, and what I recommend you do is you put your person who takes care of the CVOR first. So you fill out their detail, click indicate, important check mark, indicate if this corporate officer is to receive all CVOR correspondence. And if you need to add more, you click here and you're going to, you can add more. So here you have partner 1, here you have corporate officer partner 2. Okay. So let me quickly jump to a personal application. They call it individual. So you would click here. You are the applicant. Most likely you do have a driver's license. You fill in your driver's license details. You don't have a company representative because you're applying yourself. You do not have a service provider, again, because you're not using a third party like myself. And then business information or fleet information. Okay, so most likely you do know what you're applying for. Most likely it's a truck or a school bus or a bus. You do know that type. Next, the number of motor vehicles business expects to operate over the next year. Most likely it's 1. If you have more than 1 truck, then you only count CVOR trucks here. So CVOR trucks are 4,500 kg or more. Tow trucks, school buses, etc. How many drivers driving those CVOR trucks? Most likely 1. If you're not traveling into the United States, then it's not applicable. If you do not transport dangerous goods, or the question, do you transport dangerous goods, kind of like puzzles you, then the answer is no, okay? So sometimes people ask me this question, what about, for example, used batteries? So I've collected like used batteries, 10 of them, and I have them at the end of my truck. Well, you are exempt because the exemption threshold is 150 kg or 150 liters or less. So if you have these guys in separate means of containment and they're less than 150 kg or liters, you are exempt. This is like a high-level picture of transportation of dangerous goods exemptions. Most likely no. If you have never had a CVOR or an alternative in another province or state, then click no. Will you be conducting business in other provinces? The proper way to interpret this question is, will you be traveling in a commercial vehicle, a CVOR truck or a CVOR bus outside of Ontario? Most likely no. Do you have insurance in place? You don't need to have an insurance in place in order to apply. If you have one, you can list it over here. And of course, you can read through this. So then you certify, print your name, sign, date, etc. Okay. So that's the personal application. Let's jump back quickly to the corporate one. You were left at filling out director info. So you go ahead, fill out the director info. Then if you are an employee, then you can put your information here, company representative. If you're not an employee, if you're a director, just click no. If you're not using a service provider like myself, click no. And then same questions as on the personal application. So the type of truck, the number of trucks, the number of the number of drivers driving those trucks. Are you going to US? Most likely no. Most likely no to dangerous goods. Most likely no suspensions. Most likely you're staying in Ontario, and most likely you don't have insurance in place, but if you do, feel free to paste it in. Okay. So you declare, put your name, date, etc. So now, common to both applications, right? Payment methods. And when I was preparing for recording this video, even though it lists here that you can pay by Visa or MasterCard, I have my doubts about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check if that is in fact still the case. It used to be the case. I'm not 100% anymore because I couldn't find any forms that one can fill out to put their Visa or MasterCard information. Okay. All right. So let's say that we have figured out the payment thing. One last thing that we are going to do is we are going to add the consent form to your application. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to open it too. Okay. So how do we know we need a consent form? It's going to be listed right here. Okay. Consent and authorization form. Okay. It's going to be very, very similar to corporation and individual form. There's going to be huge overlap here. So corporation, ABC Corp. I understand. You put your name here. So this is the important part. You put your name here. You put your name here. And you're going to sign here, and you're going to sign here. And at the end, you're going to sign the third time, 3 times the charm. Okay. Other than that, there's going to be a lot of overlap between the application we have filled out previously and this supplementary consent form. You can list your directors here by pressing these buttons, or there's going to be fields available for you If you're doing a paper form, you're going to add your legal name here, company rep, service provider, etc., etc., etc. Somewhat straightforward. The only thing about this form is getting over the fact as to why you need it in the first place. And the second fact is the amount of signatures that is required, right? So if you're applying as a person or a sole proprietor, print your name here, sign in both places. So you take your application, you take your consent form, you add supporting documentation, which is usually articles of incorporation and driver's licenses for all directors listed in the case of a corporate application, or just your driver's license in the case of a personal application. You figure out your payment method, and you can submit your application by mail. The address is listed on the consent form, or by fax. I don't know what the fax is for at this point in time because we're not 100% sure about payment method. So hopefully that clarifies things for most folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot, and until next time.